My name is James Harris, and I pastor at Trenches Community Church in Kalamazoo, Michigan. In partnership with Urban Alliance, Group Violence Intervention, and our community, we will be providing for you a documentary in 5 episodes concerning the pain our community is experiencing because of gun violence. Our goal is to change the narrative from taking the life of a person to cultivating the life of our brothers and sisters. CDC reports 45,000 people died from gun violence in 2020, a 15% increase from 2019. That's more than 125 people that die every day from gun violence. Gun violence has escalated to unprecedented heights around our world and right here in our own city. As of mid-October, the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety reported 13 gun-related homicides and 62 non-fatal shootings in 2021. All of us are being impacted by gun violence, and our community wants to eradicate it because of the insurmountable pain that's being produced. One thing I'm noticing about the pain of gun violence is this: whether it's the victims or the perpetrators, pain on many occasions can birth purpose. What you are going to experience over the next several months is the voice of people who are experiencing this pain and have allowed that pain to birth an assignment. Hopefully, you will feel their pain and it will encourage you to help our city become a safer place to live. Remember this: hands are meant to heal and not to kill.
My name is Floyd Matthews. I am the Director of Supportive Services and Recovery at Urban Alliance. Here at Urban Alliance, we provide a plethora of services from gun violence intervention to mental health services, referrals, as well as substance use disorder referrals. We also have a program called Momentum, which prepares you for employment and trainings in the areas so that you can become a successful and independent member of society, so to speak. From my own personal experiences, as a young boy, I was raised in an abusive household. There's something about your mom saying that you are mommy's little man that causes you to want to protect her. And when you can't, you kind of feel less than. Through my professional education, I've learned something about trauma, and it doesn't have a specific category that you can place it in, because we have in our brains what is called an implicit memory. And what that means is I have a memory of emotions before I've had words to explain how I feel. Trauma is something that is actually a natural response. It's either that gives a fight or flight response. So anytime I recall the memory of the trauma that I experienced in my household, I respond the way that I believe is appropriate to either protect myself, my loved ones, or get out of the way or just run. It's very difficult to contain trauma because, like I said, it's a natural emotion. Everyone has it, you're born with it. Also, in our brain, we have a cell called the amygdala. The amygdala is considered to be the storehouse of memories. So if I have a memory that I responded to, and that response caused me to protect myself against the trauma, I'll repeat that response for as long as I live. One of the things that was instrumental, I'll say, in the pulling of the trigger was my mother is my first God. She's my first nurse. She's my first teacher. She's my first everything. And like anyone else, I wouldn't stand by and allow someone to destroy my God. However, at the time that this was occurring, this abuse was occurring, I was too young to respond, but then I could blame myself for the next 30 years of I should have responded differently, because I think I can respond as a 30-year-old even when I'm 7. So those things kind of plague the memory of the human being or the person who is faced with the trauma, and then you have different types of trauma. For instance, some traumas to certain people aren't traumas to us. You can have someone who could be raised without a father in the house, and everybody in the neighborhood doesn't have a father in the house, and so to them that's a norm. But to another person, that could be a traumatic experience to be raised without a male figure in the house. So a lot of times when we are faced with issues that bring about trauma, what trauma means to one person doesn't mean to everybody. This is a very broad subject. You can't wrap trauma into a box.
This right here, this area, this is where I grew up. You know what I'm saying? This is the poverty that I was taught to live by. I learned the street code. I learned everything I knew about the streets out here. Everything I was going through, seeing people coming through in violence. This is where I got it from. I was taught to use violence as my only option. I had to figure it out for myself. Like, nobody taught me how to be a man. Nobody taught me what it was like to be a man. Nobody taught me what it was like to be a civilian. And that's what GVI did for me, a group of brothers that came together with a purpose. If you look around, look at the poverty. This is my brother right here, still living out here. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna ask us to put guns down? How you gonna ask us to put certain stuff down and do something better if you ain't got nothing different? If you ain't got a solution, we figured out a solution. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to run from the police, bro, right here. I used to hide right here. In the summertime, we used to be fighting right here. We couldn't wait to fight. Please tell them how many times we got in fights out here, bro. Come over here and tell them. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times you done been in situations fighting for your life? How many times you done had to do something better? Too many. So now it's like, you know, we want to do something. We gotta have a solution. We want to do something good. We want people to put them guns down. We want people to live better. And we want them to know that they worth more than Petwood. Yeah, you might have grew up out of here, but your circumstances change, and they can change. And we want to teach people that. We want you to reach out to us, give us a call. We want to be better.
My name is Jordan Watts. I am a supports coordinator at Urban Alliance, Kalamazoo, Michigan. What I currently do at Urban Alliance right now is I'm a supports coordinator. So I provide resources to people in the community. I'm helping people get housing, Section 8, help with transportation, jobs, education, trades, re-enrolled in college if they was in college. I'm helping people do so much at Urban Alliance. I'm going to the juvenile speaking. I'm talking to the youth, I'm mentoring them. I'm helping them create a goal selection using SMART goals. I'm helping them just transition back into society smoothly. I'm working with probation and parole. Like, that's so impactful to me because when I first got released from incarceration, I didn't have nobody there like, okay, I've been where you was at and now I wanna show you how to transition back into society smooth. I didn't have that. I didn't have nobody that wanted to chase me down and offer me something, and that was love. The streets offered me something. I wanted to party, I could go to the streets. If I want to kick it, I can go to the streets. If I wanted sex, I can go to the streets. If I wanted entertainment, I can go to the streets. And the streets offer consistency. Nobody else in my life at that time offered that same type of consistency. So I wanted to offer that to people getting released. I wanted to offer love. So I spent time in and out of prison for numerous reasons, numerous acts of violence, running the streets. I was misled a lot in my youth. The turning point in my life was realizing that I was being misled, was realizing that I was living in a false reality. It wasn't real. The lies I was being fed, being manipulated by false codes of honor, false creeds, false brotherhoods. I had to wake up and realize that I was being misled and I was being deceived. I wanted to find out the truth. I wanted to find out what it was to be a real man, what it was to be a civilian. I found out it was so much more to life. I found out it was so much more to life. And it took a lot of soul searching. It took a lot of self-meditation, self-positive talk, and a lot of mentors. People that cared about me showed me the way and showed me my worth. And I found out who I was. I would say I'm a firefly. I am the light that I seek in this world. I am an embodiment of hope. I am hope. So what inspired me to write the song Dear Shooter, You Make Me Want to Change My Life, was everything I've been through. Seeing my brothers and sisters go through what they're going through, seeing them go through those stages in life is what I went through when I was a youth. Losing my mom, like I said that in the song, that was the greatest sacrifice. Because my family told me, like, you sacrificing us for the streets. And I didn't get it back then. I didn't understand what it meant that I was sacrificing them. And then when I went to prison and my mom lost her life, it made me really realize, like, I lost my mom. I sacrificed her for the streets, for the so-called code of honor, for the false creeds, for the false brotherhood. I didn't care about my family. So when I see my brothers and sisters going through that, and that's all people, it made me want to write that song. It birthed it. Like, stop doing it. We don't need to be that way. It don't make you a quote unquote real nigga. It don't make you who you think you being lied to. You being misled. That's not a real man. So I want to push that message out to my people. Like, look at all the drama. Look at all the violence. Look at all the pain we causing people. Look at everything we putting our people through. And we gotta stop that. So I want to send that message, and I want it to be a clear message. Figure out who you are as a person. Like, that's not who we are. I would suggest utilizing all the resources in the community, doing everything you need to do to give yourself that positive environment, and realizing that you're worth more. You're worth being alive. You're worth being free. You're worth being somebody special. And you are. You don't need to be that person. You don't need to be in the streets. That's a lie. Don't be misled. Would I consider my life a resurrection? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a mission. I have an assignment, and that assignment is being attacked every single day. And that's because I've been resurrected. That's because I realized who I am. And that's because I know where I'm going, and I'm gonna save people.
My name is Dominica Sims. By the age of 17, I was a single mother who struggled to stay focused and finish my senior year of high school. I was overwhelmed and had no sense of direction. My life quickly began to spiral out of control. It was not long until I had lost touch with my family and created a world where my only option was to provide for my son and myself. Consumed by the chaos of the streets and entangled in an unhealthy relationship, I found my head in a dark place and my back against the world. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel or where my life would be headed. I became involved in an unimaginable situation where a senseless murder of an innocent man occurred. As a result of my actions, I was sentenced to serve 15 years in prison. I was only 17 years old and I lost all hope. I couldn't imagine what my future looked like. As far as I was concerned, my life was over. One night, reading my Bible in my cell, God revealed a scripture that resonated with me. The scripture was Jeremiah 29:11 that said, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." I began to pray to God that He would give me signs of hope. I realized that hope helped me manage stress and anxiety, as well as coped with adversity. It motivated positive action. In becoming hopeful, I believed I could influence my own goals, that my efforts to change would have a positive impact on my life and the lives of others. During my incarceration, I created a sense of hope for myself by redefining my thought process and focusing on making decisions that were transformative to the person I wanted to become. I knew I wanted to make a difference in other people's lives. Hope is fueled by optimism, and I could see the power of positive change in my life. No matter the situation or the circumstances, I continued to grow in faith and overcame numerous obstacles. Refusing to let my past define me, I vowed to turn a new leaf while serving time. While incarcerated, I remained actively involved in my son's life and rekindled some family ties that were estranged. I pursued education with a different level of purpose. I obtained my GED and began a journey to obtain an associate's degree. I also earned several vocational certifications, including a national certification in food service hospitality management and mediation training. I also became a licensed auto mechanic. I worked with several organizations during my incarceration, including Safe House Women's Shelter, the National Lifers Association that was diverted towards making legislative change, and YEP, where I served as a mentor to the youth within the facility. I was on a mission to become a walking example of resilience and was dedicated to bringing others along that path as well. I was consistently involved in programming diverted towards being rehabilitated. This offered me a sense of hope. In life, we all make mistakes. At times, we can feel like there is no hope for a future. I'm dedicated to giving people that same sense of hope that inspired me in my lowest times in life.
So I speak a lot in parables, so I'll kind of give you a parable. If you ever was a kid and you ever trapped lightning bugs, or fireflies they call them, right? You got your jar and you have your top, and you find the bug and you trap them in this jar. And once you seal the jar, the human side of you says, he needs to breathe. So you put holes in the top, and so the bug could breathe. And then another part of your humanistic mentality clicks in and says, I need something to eat. So you stick little blades of grass down in there and you seal them up real tight. But as you watch the bug crawl up and down the grass and all around this, you get kind of bored. So you shake the jar and the bug drops to the bottom. And you can see he's wounded, he's limping, or he can't crawl, or he can't fly anymore. And then you get a sense of empathy for the bug. But you know the bug is still alive because the light is still flashing. That's sort of like trauma. The reason you can see the pain that the bug is going through, you can see the discomfort, you can see all the things that he's going through, but you can't hear what he's feeling. Even if you could understand the language of the bug, if he had one that was less physical, there's this invisible barrier between the two of you. And people do the same thing. Sometimes we try to express how we're feeling, but implicit memory says, I experienced the trauma before I could explain to you how I was feeling because it came before I had a vocabulary. And when I try to explain my trauma to someone, they don't seem to understand because I really can't find the words to tell you how I'm feeling. And in turn, what that happens with that a lot of times is the person who is inflicted with the trauma becomes frustrated with the person that he's trying to explain this trauma to, and he becomes frustrated and commits a more grievous offense against himself and others. In other words, hurt people hurt people. I want you to feel what I feel because I don't know any other way to express it. So whether that comes through fighting, argument, assaults, guns, whatever it is that I need to inflict pain, it appears that I inflict pain so I can keep myself from facing the pain that I'm experiencing myself. I use it to divert pain. So we can't actually rid ourselves of trauma because it's a healthy emotion. If you're traumatized and you're in a car accident or something, and you happen to be the one that's loose, that trauma could cause you to go back and save someone else's life as well. So we can't rid ourselves completely of trauma, and we kind of look at things like this taboo thing or this thing that we don't, but we are all born with a certain level of emotions that we need to use. We're just not taught the proper way to use them. A lot of times you see anger with trauma, and we focus on the anger, especially in situations where someone imposes pain or inflicts pain on someone else. We look at the anger, but we don't look at the underlying issue that caused the anger, because anger is actually a secondary emotion. It comes behind something. If you were raised to say, don't let nobody put their hands on you, pick up something and bust them in their head, then of course that's probably how you would respond, because the people who taught you to do that were the people who loved you more than anything in this world, and you dare not betray them. So now you have a traumatic experience that is expressed through loyalty to follow the instructions that I was given by the people who raised me. So trauma is a very difficult topic when it comes to trying to explain the reasons why, because we all respond naturally, just the same as an animal. Trauma is the one disorder that has no end because it's a part of human nature.
Man, thank you so much, Dominique Sims, for joining Pain, and allowing us to hear a little bit more about your story. So I want to ask this initial question: How has gun violence affected you?
So I've been affected by gun violence for a very long time. I grew up right on the north side of Kalamazoo, Florence area, West Woodbury area. So that kind of speaks volume for itself. But when I was younger, there was a lot of murders in our city. One being my friend Jeremy. He got killed in my driveway when I was 17. I remember a couple years prior to that, another big murder that happened was Andre Reason and a guy named Big D. So this was like right in the area I was growing up. So just hearing the gun violence at nighttime was very like traumatic, and just, you would just was praying and hoping that one of those bullets wouldn't accidentally come through your home and, hurt somebody in your house, or you wouldn't be walking outside and there's a gun battle going on right along your street or something like that. So it just played a very important role in how I kind of conducted myself, and I was always on the watch and lookout. And then I noticed over time that the streets had got more vicious and the violence had heightened.
Yeah, you stated in your letter that you experienced an incident when you were 17, and you caught a case and was in prison for 15 years. But while you were in prison, right, serving that time, in your letter you stated like all of these positive things that were happening. So in prison, it just seems like, more than likely you experienced some difficult times, but then also your life was kind of changed and resurrected. Can you talk a little bit more, about that whole process of just, I guess, becoming a new person?
So yeah, like from the moment I got locked up, like I wanted to change my life, because at the time my son was 3 months old, and I was leaving him behind, and I was leaving him out here, and I was like kind of abandoning him. So I wanted to be something different. I wanted to be, a good mother, a good friend, a good person. And I'm not saying I was a bad person. I made some terrible decisions. So I just began to like take constructive criticism from people. I knew right from wrong, so I began to, adapt to that pattern of morals and things that I've learned from my grandmother. So it just was like, I seen people getting their education. I seen people being different, and I was like, hey, those are probably some of the positive things I should get involved in.
Yeah, so you didn't lose hope, and in your letter you were talking about, just your encounter with God and the scripture, that he gave you, So what would you tell someone that is probably incarcerated right now? What words would you encourage them with?
I would definitely tell them that there is life after incarceration, and as long as you are moving on a path of positivity or redemption or being redeemed, and you're living by that and you're sticking by that, that once you come out here, that you can be successful, you can put your past behind you, and it doesn't have to define who you are.
Yeah, that's powerful. I love that. Not allowing your past to determine who you are. I love that, because our past shouldn't define us, right? Really, God defines who we are. from the very beginning, before we were conceived in our mother's womb, he knew us. So God defines us, and we can't allow our situations and our experiences to rename us. Right?
And then you have to forgive yourself. That was a big part, because I felt so much guilt because of what I had done. I had hurt a community, I had hurt my family, and most importantly, I hurt myself and my son. So I just knew that I had to forgive myself. And once you forgive yourself, you begin to heal from within. And as you heal within, you can help heal others.
How does that look? How does forgiving yourself look? Because I've heard that before. I have to forgive myself. What's that?
I think it's just seeing yourself in a new life. Like a new light, like knowing that you're changing as a person. And because like sometimes you could be like, you could forgive yourself, right? But you still see yourself as this person who committed this murder, or this person who was involved in this armed robbery. And you just have to say, like, I'm not that person no more. And I'm not going to let people make me feel like that person. I'm not going to act like that person. And I'm not going to treat others like I'm that person. So once you begin to forgive yourself, it is a process. I can't tell you how long my process took. And the ending part of my process is knowing that my family, my son, the community, people of the community, of certain status in the community, had forgiven me. And they trusted and believed in me to become a new person. So as I emerged from my situation of being incarcerated for so long, I knew that who I was today, I could confidentially be that person with confidence and know that, hey, I'm confident in the decisions that I make. I'm confident in the woman that I am today. I'm confident in being a parent to my son.
Man, that's awesome. That's really good. The forgiveness piece, forgiving yourself. And then I think as a community, and I'm seeing this happen, through Urban Alliance, is that I look at Urban Alliance as a place where people find second chances. So not only do people, or should people, forgive themselves, but also our community should forgive you. And I see resurrection. I see resurrection in there. I see hope in that. So how could people get involved? How can people get involved to help us make our community a better place?
So I think as the narrative for awareness becomes a topic in our community, I think that people could start becoming the change that they want to see. Set those examples that you want to see. Like, we got young kids out here fighting, carrying guns, shooting from this side of town to that side of town. But we got these older people that are these examples. So as they begin to I'm not saying be friends with the person, but just be cordial and, show them that, like, hey, we don't have to hurt people just because of where they grew up at, or where they from, or who they kin to. Like, you can still genuinely love people, godly love people from a distance. You don't have to be out here trying to prove a point or making this person feel like you better than them, or killing each other. So I think just by being that example, and we got to know that these young kids out here in our community, they're looking up to us.
I agree with that. Totally agree with that. Well, man, Dominique, thank you so much. I want to say that I'm proud of you, and based upon my experience and my conversations with you, you are an inspiration to our community, and I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, boom.